Hello and welcome to the in-news series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja Dwivedi, and in this segment today, we are going to discuss about Assam Rifles. This topic is important from the perspective of prelims and also from the perspective of GS mains papers, second and also third. So let's begin with the topics of discussion that we are going to have a look at. These are the many topics that we are going to discuss. Let's start with the news. So, in the Mon district, because of a botched operation that was launched by the Indian Army, dozens of innocent lives have been lost. And because of that, the locals which resided there, they attacked and vandalized the camp of Assam Rifles. Although Assam Rifles comes under the MHA, but it is responsible for the safety and security of that region. And that is why here we will talk about the Assam Rifles. The Assam Rifles, they have issued a statement and called for an inquiry to be launched by the Indian Army. What is Assam Rifles? Before that, let's talk about, in brief, about an issue. But we won't continuously talk about it. It was a botched operation which was launched in Nagaland and 14 civilians were killed. And these innocent lives, because of much more violence that was in line to erupt, it has caused a lot of uproar in the entire country about how these particular projects should be launched so that 𝐼𝐀𝐒 can be repealed, so that 𝐼𝐀𝐒 can be looked at from a wider perspective. Does it need to be repealed? We will also have to look at how 𝐼𝐀𝐒 is creating issues in various regions of northeastern states. So let's move forward and talk about the Assam Rifles. What are Assam Rifles? Assam Rifles, they are known as left hand of the military and a right hand of the civil, because they opened up the trade and commerce and cultural interlinkages between the rest of the India with the northeastern part of the India. So what are they? Basically, it is one of the six central armed police forces. The rest of the police forces which come under the MHA are the Central Reserve Police Force, that comes under MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs, the Border Security Force, Indo-Tibetan Border Police, and the Central Industrial Security Force. Now, if we talk about the control is dual in nature. That is why it makes Assam Rifles unique. Also, the Sashastra Seema Bal is a part of the CAPF, which comes under MHA. Maintenance of law and order in the northeastern region along with the Indian Army is one of the objectives of raising Assam Rifles, and it also guards the Indo-Myanmar border in the region, along with keeping in mind the safety and security, maintenance of law and order in the northeastern region. The sanctioned strength is 63,000 personnel and the battalions are 46 in number, which includes the administrative and excludes the administrative and the training staff. Now, if we talk about the Assam Rifles, you have to remember from the point of PCS as well as IAS, what is the motto of Assam Rifles? It's valor, glory and sacrifice. Okay, moving on, let's now know in brief about the uniqueness and background of Assam Rifles. Assam Rifles is the only paramilitary force which has dual control. That means the perks, the benefits, everything comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Ministry of Home Affairs says that because it is guarding the borders, so it is a police, and that is why there is a reason for MHA to have a control on it. And the force is the only central paramilitary force in real sense in its operational duties and regimentation on the lines of Indian Army. That means perks, promotion, transfer, everything, everything is under the control of MHA. But the design of Assam Rifles the regimentation of Assam Rifles, and the operational duty, that means how to get into anything which requires action, comes under the Indian Army. That means Indian Army comes under Ministry of Defence. So it has dual control, Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Defence. So salaries and everything under MHA. Then we have the operationality of it under MOD, that is Ministry of Defence. And as we know, Assam Rifles basically was raised pre-independence. It is a pre-independence raising, and it was because of their necessity to fight in wars for British. And if we talk about the background, the oldest paramilitary force is the Assam Rifles, that was raised in 1835 by the British with just 750 men. And they fought in the World Wars, the Sino-Indian Wars, that was in 1962, and also other insurgency, counter-insurgency operations. And that was a main militant group in the northeast. And it was raised as by the name Kashar Levi. Okay, remember that could be a previous question. Which pre-independence force is also known as Kashar Levi? And it was reorganized later as Assam Frontier Force. The evolution started. Role was basically to expand in order to conduct punitive operations in the northeastern region beyond the Assam borders. So, from the very beginning, after their need in the war for British, then the Sino-Indian War, counter-insurgency operation, they also had to conduct punitive operations beyond the borders of Assam. And in 1870, existing elements, whatever remained, they were merged into 3 Assam military police battalions named as Lushai Hills, Lakhimpur and Naga Hills. Again, this is pre-independence. And the Darang battalion was raised just before the onset of the World War I. There was need of the Gurkha battalion. Gurkhas, as we always have heard and seen and known, as it is quoted by a famous personality, that if an army person says that he or she is not afraid of death, he or she is either lying or he or she is a Gurkha. So, Gurkha battalion, the necessity of Gurkha battalion was there, but they were not available. So, the Assam military police was tasked to take their place. Okay, and this force sent over 3,000 men as a part of the British Army when the necessity arose to Europe and the Middle East. And in 1917, the name of the force again was changed to Assam Rifles. Now, because of their exemplary courage, as they fought shoulder to shoulder with the army, the British Army, that is why they were designated as Assam Rifles. Moving on. Post-independence, their role expanded. They fought into battle, the war of Sino-Indian War of 1962. They were also a part of Indian peacekeeping mission to Sri Lanka in 1987, and then controlling the affairs militarily with the help of the army in the northeastern areas. So their role expanded, and it remains the most awarded paramilitary force if we talk about both pre and post-independence India. And since independence, the force has won 120 Shaurya Chakras, then 31 Kirti Chakras, 5 Veer Chakras and 4 Ashok Chakras, apart from 188 Sena medals. Pre-independence also, they won many accolades for themselves through medals and the rest of the things that are awarded to the army. Okay, let's move forward and talk about the concerns. The biggest concern is the dual control. The biggest concern is the frustration that has arisen with respect to coordination between MHA and the Indian Army. And in 2013, as the history suggests, that MHA made the first ever proposal to take operational control. That means it laid with the Indian Army, it still does lay with the Indian Army. MHA said that because they are guarding the borders, they should come under MHA. Not only that, they should also be merged with BSF, Border Security Force. And then, if we talk about the perspective of the ex-Assam Rifle army men, they wanted to be under the Ministry of Defense because the perks which are given to an army personnel is wanting when we talk about the Assam Rifles. Monetarily, with respect to pension, with respect to promotion, Indian Army stands a better chance, and that is why it is needed. Although, if we talk about the imbalance between the Indian Army and the Assam Rifles, as we know that one rank, one pension is available to the army personnel. They generally do retire at the age of minimum 35, we can say. And in Central Armed Police Forces, Central Armed Paramilitary Forces, sometimes they can go till 60. So that is one thing. Secondly, if we talk about non-functionality financial upgradation that is available to the Assam Rifles. Okay, so at least the government took into consideration that at least we can help them financially, if not promotion wise, because promotion depends on a Ministry of Home Affairs. It's simple. Suppose you are working at a place. You have to report to two agencies. First is the agency A, second is the agency B. Whatever work you are doing is being under agency A, but your salary, everything is dependent on agency B. What is going to be the coordination? Won't you get frustrated? Similarly, we have with Assam Rifles. In 2019, the proposal was renewed with the coming of the second term of this current government. Now they said, why not merge Assam Rifles with Indo-Tibetan Border Police? And the Indian Army has actually been pushing not only for the coming of the Assam Rifles under the Ministry of Defense, but also they are saying that let's put Indo-Tibetan Border Police also under Ministry of Defense. And even so, certain petitions are pending with the court. The Delhi court did say in 2020 itself that why not take into account and solve the issue to bring the Assam Rifles out of the duality between Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of Defense. Now, if we talk about the sheer duality, the concerns are not only financial, but also promotional. The concerns not only are with respect to getting the proper promotion, but it can jeopardize the national security if there is no coordination or if there is a lax coordination. Another problem is that if we talk about the way forward, as the center has said that final decision has yet to be made, as the decision is pending with Cabinet Committee on Security, and they have decided that in principle that MHA should have the control of the Assam Rifles, but a final decision hasn't been made yet. Okay, proper deliberation should be taken place between MHA, MOD and the Assam stakeholders from the Indian Army as well, because it's a matter of national security. And also MOD and Ministry of Home Affairs did talk about it, but there was no agreement between them. No conclusion was reached at. We need to fix frustration related to coordination, and that will take a lot of analysis with respect to ground realities, with respect to the necessities of Assam Rifles, with respect to national security. Now let's move forward and talk about our mains-based question. Who are the Assam Rifles? What is the challenge that pose a threat to the operations of the Assam Rifles? We have to write it in 250 words, okay? So that's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.